Hey everyone, and welcome to this PvZ guide. So today we're gonna be doing a DT drop, 4-gate DT drop, which is pretty straightforward. And there will be a nice follow-up behind it, so you will have the opportunity to kill your opponent quite rapidly as well. So to kick things off, pylon in the low ground, obviously in the natural, 14. I mean, most of you are probably gonna be very familiar with this, but for those who are not, I'm just gonna talk about it. I'm trying to rally my probes to the closest patches. So yeah, whenever your pylon finishes, you chrono boost, obviously, and you get your gateway and you scout right away. You don't want to be, too crazy about it. You want to be safe. Then you get your geyser right away. After this game, I'm gonna show you what it looks like against a proper GM opponent. So this game is just against AI to make it, familiar for everybody. So yeah, 16 on gas, and then as opposed to a Stargate build where you would put more probes in the gas, here you just stay at 16 in the minerals and just rally one by one. So the first rally point goes towards the gas, and the next rally point will be in the natural to actually build the nexus at 20 supply. So here I'm just checking around, obviously play against AI, so this guy is not gonna bother me too much. Of course, if you play against a 12 pool or something like this, you need to adjust to it, but I just assume my opponent will play normal. So 20 nexus, 20 core as well, and this probe will go to the gas to make it 3 out of 3, and then you finally resume the probe production. 21 geyser, and we will make a pylon at 22. So I like to make the pylon more on the side towards my wall, towards my natural, right? So I can have a little bit of space to make all the buildings, because we're going to make Twilight Council, Dark Shrine, 2 extra gates as well, and you want to put it more on the left side, the opposite side of which where the overload would come from. Basically, you want it to make it a bit harder to scout. So we go warp gate right away, and we chrono boost and adept, and we chrono boost our main nexus as well. So the moment your pylon and core finish at the same time, you try to start everything at once: adept, probes, and warp gate. Whenever you have 100 gas, you can finally make your Twilight Council. And you can see I'm just scouting around with my probe. I just want to see if it's actually sending some links on my side of the map. Second unit will be a stalker, and we chrono boost the nexus the moment it finishes. Now my goal with the adept is to find A, does he have a third, and B, how many drones does he have. When you have 100 gas, you make your robo. Try to make your robo in a natural, ideally. So later on in the game, you can rally immortals a bit more faster, right? A bit faster, that's redundant. So we're not going to make any more units, just 1 adept and 1 stalker. In a normal game, you're supposed to have a third as the Zerg, but once again, I'm playing against AI. So you finish the wall with gateway, right? And whenever you have 150 gas, you finally get your Dark Shrine. Try to hide it. I made it on the left side of my main. This is the least exposed side, and then the stalker goes into the main on the edge to find a potential overlord. Whenever you can afford it, that should be around 330, you get 2 extra gates to make it 4, and then you will cut probes, because we want to get the warp prism right away. So I'm not making more probes, I'm purposefully cutting here so I can make the warp prism. And then finally I will get a pylon and 2 extra gases. You can potentially resume probes a bit faster, doesn't really matter, but just make sure you get the gases on time and don't get supply blocked, obviously. Now we'll get 1 more pylon, and will be the final pylon we will make before actually expanding. These 2 pylons will be enough for pro production and for the DT warping. So here I'm getting an extra zout. You don't have to, you can skip it, doesn't really matter. But I'm just trying to make it as beginner friendly as well, so you don't lose your third stupidly. So with 2 units you can actually expand quite safely. Then you cross the map with your warp prism, you beeline toward their base, and if you do things properly, you should be able to just warp in your DTs around 4:30, maybe if it's earlier, it doesn't really matter. And there you go. So now you try to harass with your DTs. If you can snipe a spore quarter, that's great. If they have no detection, you can potentially snipe the hatchery altogether. Then you rush towards your third base, should go at about 440, 445, something like this. Then you try to harass with your DTs, and the moment you see it's impossible to get more damage, here I'm just pretending, of course, you just go away with your warp prism, and we want to get 2 Archons. Try to warp in your DTs on the side or somewhere that is a bit more difficult to access by the Zerg, because if you make it very obvious, if you make it below an Overlord or if you get spotted, then the Zerglings and Roaches will try to find the Archons and kill them before they actually complete. So be careful about it. Then you try to harass a little bit with your Archon, but before you do so, just make sure you're making Immortals, because we're gonna be doing a timing attack behind it, so make sure you make Immortals non-stop. This is absolutely crucial. Then we get triple sentries, +1 attack and charge, and the idea is to hit a strong timing attack with 8 gates, 4 Immortals, and whatever other units we can make, so basically Archons and Zealots. So you get 4 extra gateways quite rapidly. See, about 6 minutes they're all on the way, and just never got Immortals. You see, I'm not prioritizing actually harassing with the Archon drop. I don't care as much. Macro is more important. You will get more value if you pay attention to your macro at home, making Immortals, sentries, your gateways, rather than just killing 1 Overlord and a Roach or 2 with your Archon drop. Always prioritize macro, and then with the leftover APM and attention span you have, then you can macro, you can control the prism. So that's pretty much it. Then we're going to be doing a big timing attack with all these units. You can push with 4 Immortals or 3 depending on how you like. I'm going to show you what it looks like against an actual good player. I was going to say pro player, but that's not exactly true. It's like a 6k opponent, so let's get going. Alright, now I'm gonna show you what it looks like against a proper 6k opponent, but before I do so, I'd like to remind you that if you want to get some coaching, if you want to break that plateau and finally get some improvement, you can join my Discord in the description and get some coaching with me. Alright, so I'm gonna speed up the process just a little bit so we don't waste too much time and make a 2-hour video. So pylon at 14 as always, you grab some minerals with your probe, and that same probe will go and build your gateway and scout. You get your Chrono Boost on your Nexus right away, of course, then you rally at 17, so you can get an Assimilator. And of course, Nexus 20 and Core 20 as well, then Gas at 21, Pylon 22. So my probe is just scouting. I saw the hatchery, so I know I'm perfectly safe. No need to worry about anything at all. And I'm just going around a little bit. So if you have extra APM, you can try to harass the mineral line a little bit, try to aim at the closest patches so you can harm the Zerg even more. Just make sure you macro first, right? If you want to be a bit fancy and try to harass, just make sure your build is super clean at home. You have no excuse to prioritize just bothering the Zerg instead of actually macroing properly. So gas 21, and once again I'm trying to make my pylon as far away as possible from the potential Overlord that can come in my main. On most maps, players will have a first Overlord over here on a pillar, so to speak, where the Overlord has high ground vision, basically. So I will make my robo more on this side because it's further away from its Overlord. And when it comes to the second pylon, where I'm going to make my Twilight Council and my Dark Shrine, sometimes Zergs like to send a little cheeky Overlord on this side, so I want to make my pylon as far away as possible so that if the Overlords were to commit, I can actually kill it because I'm going for a Stalker as second unit. So, the moment the core finishes, Warp Gate, Chrono Boost and Adept, and my probe stays over here in patrol. So why am I doing this? I am leaving my probe in patrol over here to make sure the Zerg is not sending some links on my way. It's a build with which I don't have an Oracle, so I'm a bit weaker to Link Floods and Banelink Bus, so I really want to make sure by leaving my probe in patrol that no Link is coming my way. And note that I'm going on the right side with my probe, but my Adept is going on the left side, so I have both sides covered. Now that my Adept arrives, I just want to make sure he has a hatchery, a third one, and I can also check with a shade how many drones he's got in his mirror line. And now I see, yeah, the cocoons and 2 drones just spawned, so I know I'm 100% safe. He's making drones, he's got a hatchery, so I can just safely retreat at home. My Stalker is going to push this Overlord away, but now I really want to stay in my main, because now there's no Overlord, but I cannot possibly know that's the case. So just in case you leave your Stalker in patrol, so you can catch potential Overlord, so it cannot actually confirm that's a Dark Shrine. So as far as the build order goes, you go Twilight with the first 100 gas. Then when you have 100 gas again, you get a Robo. And when you have 100 gas again, then you get the Dark Knight. It's pretty much a I make my building when I can afford it sort of build, you know. So you really want to cut probes at 41. This is important so you can rush the Warp Prism. The moment your Robo finishes, you want to cut probes so you can rush the Prism as early as possible. And then once you're started your Warp Prism and Chrono Boosted it, you can finally resume probes. Then you go gas and gas, so you can have enough gas to afford 4 Dark Templars at 430. And then finally get 1 pylon. And then you will rally a probe down there, you know. I want to make a pylon over here. So I have enough supply for DTs and probes in the meantime. And I like to make a pylon at the very bottom of my main so that I have more space later to make buildings and I have some vision as well. Some players will like to drop some links and such. If there's a Nidus or whatever, you have the vision over here. Your Warp Prism should beeline across the map. And I just want to make sure one thing. The moment your gases finish, you want to pull probes immediately inside them. Otherwise, you will not be able to afford the 4 DTs. So the moment your gases are finished, put 3 probes inside both of them. This is really, really crucial. You do not need to make a million pylons. It's just if you just follow the build like I did, with this pylon and the next one, you will have enough supply for everything. Your adept should be trying to get the Nexus done. And then in the previous game, I also made a Zealot, which is not the case here, but this version I'm doing in this specific game is a bit grittier, but more aggressive. The one I did the previous game is a bit safer because you get an extra Zealot. But if you want to make the Zealot, just make sure you make it early enough so you don't have a gateway and cooldown when you actually need to warp in the DTs. So you can warp in DTs wherever you like. You can warp them here, you can warp them there. Just make sure you warp them away from the creep so your Warp Prism doesn't get targeted. Whenever you warp in the DTs, use the travel time to macro. So right now my Warp Prism and DTs can travel from here all the way to there. I have a little bit of time and this time will be used for warping a Nexus. As you can see my vision, I'm making a Nexus. Now try to harass a little bit, just be conservative. You do not want to lose DTs because even if you lose one, that's annoying because then you will need to warp in another one to get the 2 Archons I should say. Kill whatever you can kill, you know. Use your intuition, so to speak. There's a free Roach Warren, just kill it. You can get a few Zerglings for free, kill them. But here I can see roaches are available. It's got spores. I'm just gonna go away. But in the meantime, I'm macroing as best as I can. So you get a Forge and Immortals. We want to attack with 4 of them, so make sure you do not miss a beat and always produce Immortals. And if you can Chrono Boost them as well, do so. Now, I will just retreat in a safe location. You know, I'm not warping in my Archons too close from the Zerg. It's a bit harder to access this area, and I'm also hugging a wall, or the terrain, I should say. So you don't want to make it too obvious, otherwise the Zerg will find your Archons and kill them while they are morphing. Whenever you can afford it. You get 2 sentries, I would say 3, but I'm struggling a bit for money here. But you want 3 sentries in total. Get +1 attack and charge, and keep making Immortals. This is the most important task for you to do because this is not just an Archon drop strategy. We're going to do a timing attack later on, so if you forget to make Immortals, you will have missed the whole purpose of this strategy. All your Chrono Boosts should go on the Robo and the +1 attack because these are the things that take the most time to research. Charge, useless to Chrono it. It will finish on itself, on its own. Around 550 we should be making some gates, so right about now. There you go. So if you're doing things properly, at 6 minutes you should have 4 extra gateways on the way. And keep in mind, we're never cutting Immortals. I'm Chrono Boosting this Robo all the time, and whenever I can afford an Immortal, I make 1. And then with the leftover money, you can just warp in extra units. Right, so always prioritize macro first. You get your +1, you get your warp-ins, you especially get Immortals, and then with the leftover APM and attention you've got, you can use this attention to get some value with your drop. See here, I lost 0 and I got like 100, almost 1k value worth of resources, so I just lost something here. Warping an Archon, that's actually a good move by my Zerg opponent, who actually caught one of my Archons that I just missed. So yeah, if you can make it in a safe location, that's better. If you do things properly with this strategy, at 7 20. You should have 4 immortals, +1 attack and charge, and you should be ready to hit. Now my goal at around 7 minutes is to find the 4th base location, because this is where I'm going to attack. The purpose of this build is either to kill my opponent if I can, or at least kill the 4th, right? So I didn't find a 4th here, so logically the 4th should be either here or there. And here I'm about to see a drone traveling over here, so I know he's trying to expand over there. So I know where I'm going to attack, right? I know what I'm trying to do. 720 is getting close, and I'm almost reaching the Zerg base. Make sure you do not get supply blocked. You have 8 gateways, which means you warp in 16 supply at a time. 16 supply, that's exactly 2 pylons. So every time you warp in 8 units, you should be making 2 extra pylons. This is part of the cycle, if you will. So every time you warp in 8 zealots or 8 units, just double pylon behind it, otherwise you will be supply blocked for the next cycle. So it's really important to remember to make 2 pylons. Don't make 5, just be regular with it, constantly make 2. And now the execution is pretty simple. You warp in 8 zealots at a time every 20 seconds, and you just use your force fields as best as you can. So here I'm just, going around a little bit. I have plenty of sentries. I have 4 sentries, that's a lot of energy, so you really want to trap the roaches like I do, and whenever you can warp again, just do so. It's really important to reinforce as fast as you can. That's 16 supply, that's a lot of units, right? And your Archons and Immortals need some meat shield behind it, or in front of it, I should say, to actually buffer. So what's the game plan after that? In this case, I was able to kill my opponent, but sometimes you will not be able to. So what do? Well, if you're playing against mutas, you should get blink and some cannons in your bases. If you play against lurkers or something of that sort, get your geysers and get a base. You want to transition into something that's actually useful against lurkers, so you should get Storm. That's also going to be good against Vipers. You want to make Immortals, you can even add a second Robo. Against lurkers, you should also get a Stargate, so you can have a reliable source of detection in the Oracle. And yeah, then you can go into Tempest or stay on the map and put pressure. You could also put a pressure towards the 4th and use your Warp Prism all the way around and try to harass their main. You can be very creative with it. But if you're able to hit a strong and powerful timing, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have a lot of success with it. Just the key of this strategy is to make sure you focus on macro first, and then once you've done the macro properly, you can get the luxury to play around with your Warp Prism a little bit. So tell me if you tried it and you liked it. Remember to join my Discord in the description, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye bye.